Hi, welcome to my channel. I'll be showing you how to make a pom-pom coin purse. It looks like a regular pom-pom, but I made it hollow inside so it can open up to be a little change purse. It's a great project to use up any of your leftover yarn, and it works up super fast. It's also a project that will help you familiarize yourself with increasing stitches and working in the round. It uses just one kind of stitch, the loop stitch. So if you watched my tutorial on how to make this loopy sweater jacket, you'll already be familiar with it. To make this project, you'll need these cute little round metal purse frames. I'll put a link for buying them along with the rest of the supplies in the description. These frames come in different metal finishes to choose from, and they're sold in a pack of 6, so you can make a bunch of extras to give as gifts. You'll also need some yarn. I'll be using a medium weight size 4 yarn. Any kind of fiber should do as long as it's not the kind that frays when you cut it like chenille yarn. And you'll need a crochet hook. I'll be using a size H 5mm crochet hook, some scissors, a stitch marker, a safety pin will do just fine, and a needle. I recommend using a slim tapestry or cross-stitch needle, something with an elongated eye so that you can thread a strand of yarn while still having it be small enough to fit through the tiny holes in the purse frame. If you have difficulty threading your needle, it helps to sandwich the end of the yarn between a piece of cellophane tape and cut the tape at an angle so that you can feed it through the needle. The only sort of unusual thing about this project is that I'll be treating 4 strands of yarn as a single piece, and using a smaller than recommended hook size for that thickness of yarn. The reason for this is so that I'll really pack in a lot of extra yarn to make the pom-pom as fluffy as possible. This fluffiness will make it a little tricky to see where your hook goes if you're not familiar with stitch anatomy. So I highly recommend checking out my loopy sweater video, where I walk you slowly through the loop stitch process from the very beginning using just a single piece of yarn instead of the 4 strands I'll be using here. I'll give you a brief overview of the project and then I'll walk you through step by step. The pom-pom is made in 2 halves and the crochet is worked in the round. You'll only be making a few rounds of stitches for each half, increasing the number of stitches in each round. Then you'll sew the halves along with the purse frame together. After you've sewn it all up, you'll cut all the loops and trim it so that it makes a nice fluffy pom-pom, and add any extra embellishments. To begin, you'll make a slipknot, and slip the loop onto your hook. Keep the loop fairly loose, like I'm doing here. And then chain 2 by wrapping the yarn around your hook and pulling through the loop. And then again, wrapping the yarn around the hook and pulling through the loop. You'll be making 6 loop stitches into the second chain from the hook, the chain closest to the slip knot that I've highlighted here. All 6 times you'll be going back into this spot. This will give you your first round of 6 stitches. Insert your hook into that second chain from the hook. You'll now have 2 loops on your hook. Next, you'll grab your working yarn and with your pointer finger extended, pull up the yarn about an inch or so in a similar way to how you would start to tie a bow on your shoes. Wrap the yarn from the back of your hook and bring it around to catch under the groove on the head of your hook. Then pull it through the first loop on your hook. Remove your finger from the big loop you just made and see that you have 2 loops on your hook. You can use your pointer finger on the hand that's holding the hook to keep everything secured. Bring the working yarn over to the front of the hook and pull through both loops. You now have 1 loop left on the hook. That's the first loop stitch. Repeat this 5 more times, going back into that same chain next to the slip knot. Insert your hook, make a big loop and catch it from the back to the front. Pull through 1 loop on your hook, and then with a good grip on your work, yarn over and pull through the 2 loops on your hook. That was your second loop stitch. Insert your hook again, grab a loop, twist and pull through 1 loop on your hook, and yarn over and pull through 2 loops. That's your third loop stitch. Insert your hook again, pull up a loop, twist and pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. That's your fourth stitch. Insert your hook, pull up a loop, twist and pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. That's your 5th stitch. And insert your hook, pull up a loop, twist and pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. That's the 6th. You can give a tug on the ends of your yarn to pull your work into a tighter circle. Count that you have 6 stitches. You can tell by looking at the top of your work and finding the clearly defined V shapes. I've highlighted them here to help you see what I'm talking about. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Put a safety pin through the final stitch in that round, the 6th V. It's the stitch you completed most recently, the one that's closest to your hook. Next, you'll make 2 loop stitches in all 6 stitches, which will give your next round a total of 12 stitches. Insert your hook into the first stitch. Grab a loop, twist and pull through 1 loop on your hook, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. That's 1. Go back into the same stitch and make another loop stitch. That's 2. Continue making loop stitches in each of the 5 remaining stitches from that round. When you get to your safety pin, which was the last stitch in your previous round, remove it and make 2 stitches in there too. Then put the safety pin onto the last stitch you just completed, the one closest to your hook. Double check you count 12 stitches for this round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. The 12th stitch will have a safety pin in it. For the next and final round, you'll only add an extra stitch into every other stitch. So you'll make 1 loop stitch into the first stitch, 2 into the second, 1 into the third, 2 into the fourth, and so on, until you get to your safety pin to stitch. Remove the pin, and there you will make your final 2 stitches, giving you a total of 18 stitches. Count to make sure you have 18 stitches for that round. Then chain 1 to bind off, and cut your yarn, leaving a tail. Pull on the knot to tighten it a bit. And repeat this set of steps to make the other half of your pom-pom. The only difference is this time, when you are ready to cut your work, leave 1 strand of yarn longer than the other 3, so that you can use it to sew the halves and purse frame together. Now you just have to sew it all up. Start with the half that has the long tail and thread it through your needle. There's a notch near the knot where the purse frame fits in nicely and is a good place to start sewing. Sew through all the holes on one half of the frame and then align the notch on the other half of your pom-pom with the purse frame hinge and sew up the rest of the frame. Then sew the 2 crochet halves together along the bottom half of the purse frame until you get to the other side. If you have any gaps at the sides of your purse where the hinges are, you can sew them up before knotting off your work. And you can reinforce the knot by knotting the tail ends from opposite sides together. Use your scissors to cut the tails down and then cut all the loops. While rotating it frequently, trim it so that it makes a nice round fluffy pom-pom. It will take a good amount of trimming before it starts to shape up and look even. Bonus! Some extra things you can do to your pom-pom. You can brush it with a bristled brush to make it extra poofy, and then give it a trim to clean it up. Here you can see the difference between an unbrushed pom-pom on the left and a brushed one on the right. You can use multiple types and/or colors of yarn and leave the loops uncut. Also, a multicolor or variegated yarn works really nicely in this project, and you can make animals like this little sheep and bear by adding additional components. You can cut these shapes out of non-fraying scraps of material like felt, leather, or vinyl, and then using a needle or an awl, pre-punch holes and sew it to your pom-pom. To make a bear, I used some buttons to make the eyes and nose, and to make the ears, I made 2 small pom-poms of roughly equal size using the fork wrapping technique. I laid a long piece of yarn between the middle of the fork tines and then wrapped the yarn a bunch of times around the fork. Then I used the long piece of yarn to tightly tie a knot on the bundle of yarn and snip the loops. After trimming and brushing the 2 ears, I used the tails to sew them to the purse. If you've made this project and gave it your own twist, please share it in the comments. I'll be posting more videos soon, so if you enjoyed this project, please consider subscribing and stay up to date on new videos as they come out. See you next time!